All right, thank you for joining me for an in-depth presentation of what has been built so far. You may know by now, or maybe aware that very soon it's going to be a regulatory nightmare to do AI in Europe, especially because sending private information, whether financial or personal, to a third-party cloud will break GDPR and cybersecurity audits. So that's the reason why we built something that stays on your computer and still use AI to do the parsing and the intelligence. All right, cool. So I'm waiting for the video to catch up a little bit. But here, what's going to happen is we're going to start the setup.sh. And what's great about it is it shows you all the steps that it goes through, finding out what you have hardware-wise, creating the local binaries for OCR, creating a local VAMV, and compiling C modules. 0 network sockets open up and no telemetry leaves the machine. Sorry, I had to read this one a little bit because it's a little bit of a mouthful for me. Now, we're done with the setup and we start the actual process. So it picks up all the PDFs and the CSVs that you saw at the very beginning of the presentation and going to go through it basically. Some of it will be parsed by Python because it's just a very clean CSV. That's the one from it says atoa.csv. It's because it's just like a normal Excel spreadsheet with very easily readable columns basically. But that's not the most interesting for me. The most interesting in what comes after is once the system or the harness wakes up Qwen 2.5 and start going through the messy CSV, that's the bank statement. Because every company, every business has a different logic and every bank has a different way of showing this logic. Now, whilst I have your attention, that's what was very important to me. We decided very early on that you can't rely purely on the AI because they have a tendency to hallucinate, and sometimes it's difficult to see where the information or where the logic broke down. But at the same time, we can't rely anymore solely on regex, because what happens is if you would have to create systems per banks, per logic, per companies, and it's been done for 30 years. I'm not going to reinvent that. Excel does it very well, and I'm not a programmer. So for me, what was important was to mix both of them within a harness, basically. So we use the probabilistic of the AI to basically read human way of putting down data with like a very deterministic engine, basically, to make sure we get the best of both worlds. So now I'm going to stop talking. The only thing that I'm going to say is what was very, very important to me, and the reason why the video is a little bit long and might get a little bit boring at time, is because I need everything to be written down. First of all, it helps me understand what's happening, because I'm not going to lie, I come from a different background and I'm not a coder, and I like the visual aspect, but I didn't realize this anyway. It was part and parcel of what's coming in terms of regulation and legislation, because people want to be able to audit what's happening. And here you have all the decision process made by Qwen or the Python harness. So you can see every decision that has been made, you can audit them, and if you disagree or need to make some changes, you can do it at your leisure. Alright, that's the actual call bit. Sorry, I know I said I wouldn't talk, but whilst the processing of the PDFs is impressive in my opinion, and was a lot of work, that is actually really, really cool, because that's where you will use almost only Qwen now, purely intelligence, and it's very, very impressive. I'm not saying everything is correct, because I'm not an accountant, and it's obviously a work in progress. But the fact that everything can be parsed, and there's more to it, and I don't want to go into too much details unless you're interested. But you would have to look at the CSV and how Qwen's going to thanks to the Python harness. Again, it's not like a decision that Quinn's made, but we'll skip some of the lines because it knows that it's not new money, and then try to put in the right pots. I find that extremely interesting and impressive, and that's the whole point of the build. There wouldn't be any other point otherwise, because then I can just have a human accountant do that. But again, I want to remind you that the goal was never to replace an accountant, because accounting is an explanation of what has happened. Oh, that is cool. It's when I turn off the Wi-Fi to show that it's all local. We are not accountants, because we're not looking at the past, but we're going to use AI for the future, for intelligence. And there's a lot of stuff that I will go into later. But that's what excites me the most, is bringing some clarity to the data that you already have, so you can use that to build your intelligence platform. Again, we're not accountants, so some of it will be wrong and can be corrected. But having a system that's purely yours, no internet, on your computer. And my computer was slightly expensive, because it's a laptop with that was made for AI, but you could run it on your server. And everything is done now by the system. And I want to say for free for me, obviously, because I built it. But I'm not using any API. I'm not sending any information. Pretty cool. I know this bit is boring, and I apologize, but there's no reason to speed it up, because that's the most important part of it. Again, you need to be able to see what happens. You need to be able to see why those decisions were made and how they were made. So again, not much you can do. You can fast forward if you want, but very important. And again, I'd like to remind you, I may have said that already, but I want it to be very clear, is those information that I can send to you, by the way. So PDFs and CSVs are real, taken from a real business that I work with, but obviously everything has been scrubbed, whether it's names, probably not all the numbers, because it was a lot of work, but yes, the names and been scrubbed, so it's GDPR compliant. Don't worry, we're almost there. This is probably another 20 lines to go through. I mean, if I remember correctly, because I watched this video millions of times now. Not even the video, the real pass, millions of times. All right, we're done. So everything has been reconciled. Now we have a master ledger database that's been created, and we're going to query it using this very beautiful command. All right, cool. So that's what I'm very excited about. Everything, it's a simple SQL command that you can change if you don't like the presentation or anything. But what's important is that you can see that it organizes all information that's been taken from those PDFs and CSVs and put it in a way that is easily readable. You have all the numbers that you want to extract from it, and what's great, sorry, I was about to swear, is nothing left the building, basically. And that is what I'm the most proud of. I'm going to have to read from my notes because it's a little bit of a mouthful for me, but that's the audit vault. Basically, we're running our master audit tool output, zero knowledge snapshot. Every run gets it SHA 256 state signature. PYY is masked with anonymous node signature for GDPR, and we have a post-quantum hook ready for NIST ML-DSA signature when ANSSI and UK guidelines drop. Sorry, I was terrible, but like I said, it's a lot of acronyms that I don't really not used to, so I'm going to read it again because it was actually terrible. So again, that's the way to query the database from outside. You could give it to HMRC, you could give it to your investor. It doesn't matter who you want to give it to. What's important is the fact that it's anonymized, hashed, so you don't have to worry about giving private information, but from the HMRC or your investor perspective, they're sure that it's the real information because you give them the salt key and then they can do their thing. I don't exactly know how it works, but they can, with the salt key, rewrite or reprocess the information so they can see the real thing. And for me, that was the most important. Everything needs to be